caught my wife smiling as her lover grabbed her ass. I filed for divorce, and now she's begging for forgiveness. My spouse, 30F and I 32 meters, recently got back from an extended camping trip with two other couples who have been friends for years. We had a terrific visit, but I still can't get over what happened the morning we departed. As we prepared to return home, we were all packed. I noticed my wife and my friend when I looked up from loading our car. They were a few feet distant from the campsite. I watched as he reached out and squeezed her hip while slipping his hand down her ass while she was stooping to pick something up. My wife pushed his hand away swiftly, but she didn't seem furious. Instead, she was grinning at him in a way that was almost amusing. I felt as though I had been punched in the stomach, but it all happened so quickly, maybe a second or two. I looked about, but it didn't appear to be observed by anyone else. The second couple was farther away, talking about the travel back, while his wife was busy packing up their car. It was a calm drive home. My wife attempted to strike up a discussion, but I was unable to concentrate since I kept thinking about that event. I pretended that I was just thinking about work when she questioned why I was so silent. To tell the truth, I was stunned. I was reluctant to mention it. She could try to convince me that I was being crazy or that I was just having hallucinations. If I brought it up, I had the impression that I was going through the rest of the day automatically. I can scarcely concentrate at work today because I didn't get much sleep last night. Every aspect is being questioned by my rushing thoughts. Everything seemed in order, and aside from what I witnessed, the remainder of the vacation was fantastic. I'm unsure if I understood this scenario correctly. However, the smile on her face seemed too casual and welcoming for something that went too far. I adore my wife dearly. Since our first year of college together, I have never had any cause to question her, even though she is my best friend. I'm having trouble entangling a knot in my stomach for the first time. I've always had great faith in her and have never been the kind to pry. However, as I sit here, I'm debating whether or not to check her phone. Even if I wanted to, I'm not sure how I could accomplish it without her figuring it out because it's password protected. I know I have to take action because this is getting to me. Is it foolish of me to look through her phone? And how could I if it's password secured, even if I wanted to? Update 1. I located her iPad. Since there was no password, I was able to log in, and her phone is still linked to it. She's using Telegram. There, they have been conversing. She is cheating, but I'm still reading through the messages. I'm attempting to maintain my composure so that I can make the right decision going forward without ruining this. How should I proceed? When she gets home, should I confront her? Should I confront him at his home? Please assist. Update 2. I appreciate all of your advice. I kept it a secret from her. I've sequestered myself in my home office, claiming that I have work too. She is not a suspect. The iPad stayed with me. She won't even realize it's gone because she hasn't used it in a long time. As an additional precaution, I used my phone to take screenshots of every message they sent. As far as I can tell, they have been communicating for at least 8 months. Their primary means of contact is Telegram. After splitting from me and his wife, they appear to have exchanged explicit communications and even plan to formally announce their relationship. It's unbelievable that she would harm me in this way. She even texted him a suggestive picture of herself earlier this evening while she was heading to the gym. Based on the communications I read, she wanted to be intimate and began kissing me as soon as she got home. I declined, stating that I had some work to do. I'll take the advice I've been given here and get some evidence because I'm confused and unable to think clearly right now. I'll go to work on those actions. Additionally, I've noticed a number of comments suggesting that I keep my money apart from hers. We have joint bank accounts and co-own the apartment where we reside. She is aware that I had a sizable legacy from my parents, who passed away in a car accident 2 years ago. Even if she doesn't have access to that money, is there anything I can do to safeguard it in case something goes wrong? Fortunately, we are not yet parents. Update 3. Since I occasionally work from home and had no meetings this morning, I use the time to look up and call attorneys, although most couldn't schedule me until next week. I have 2 consultations scheduled for tomorrow. As soon as I get a lawyer and get myself covered legally, I will tell his wife and present her the evidence. Before I determine what to do next, like addressing my wife, I'll allow her time to organize her affairs and, if she so desires, hire a lawyer. I have no idea why I'm feeling this way. For some reason, I'm more numb than outraged. The messages, particularly the explicit ones, make me feel ill and queasy. I feel like I'm living someone else's life, even though I'm only doing what I have to do at the moment. I'm not sure how long I can maintain this poker look before she realizes something's wrong. I appreciate all of your support and messages. Update 4. I appreciate all of the advice you have given me. I have been keeping myself occupied with work and going to the gym, so not much has happened since yesterday. My wife is aware that the anniversary of my parents' deaths is approaching in approximately 1 month. I simply said that I was thinking about them when she questioned why I appeared aloof. A handful of my scheduled lawyer consultations are today, but the majority are scheduled for next week. After I choose a lawyer and am aware of my options, I will provide another update. Final update. My divorce papers were filed this morning after I found a great lawyer who was able to draft them in a matter of days. Since I reside in a no-fault jurisdiction, none of the adultery evidence I collected will be utilized in court. The good news is that since I didn't spend my fortune on married expenditures, it's safe. One of us will have to buy the other out, or we will both have to sell our condo, which was a wedding present, with equal down payments from both sets of parents. I gave my ex-friend's wife a ring on Saturday and invited her over for coffee. Ironically, her husband and my wife had taken an overnight excursion together, which is why I picked this day. Through their texts on the iPad, I learned that my wife had informed me that she would be spending the weekend at her sister's house to assist with the children, while her sister's husband was away on business. Meanwhile, her spouse said he was gone on a project for work. In actuality, my wife's spouse was paying for their hotel stay while they were traveling out of town together. I showed his wife the telegram pictures and messages. She informed me that a few months prior, she had observed that he was being aloof, but she had never believed that he was cheating and had dismissed it as work-related stress. She was devastated to learn that her husband was having an affair with my wife, who is also her friend. I provided her my lawyer's contact information in case she wanted it throughout our lengthy conversation. She's thinking about her choices. Sunday evening. After visiting her sister's house, my wife came home. Just after spending the weekend with her lover, she came in the door, kissed me and said she missed me. She has nearly demonic compartmentalization skills. We needed to chat, so I sat her down. We live in a one-party consent state, so I did as my lawyer advised and taped the entire conversation. It proceeded like this. I begged her to swear to tell the truth to me. Despite her apparent nervousness, she answered, "Of course, baby." I then posed a number of queries, including, "Do you love me?" "Yes." "Are you satisfied with me?" "Yes, darling, of course." "Have I treated you well as a husband? Do I treat you fairly?" "Yes and yes." "So why are you betraying me?" After a whole minute of staring at me in disbelief, she started to dispute it. After some time passed, I advised her to stop acting, as I already knew the truth. On a night out with her partner a few months back, she finally broke down and confessed to kissing a man who had been making advances on her at a pub. I'm not sure why, but the whole thing was so ridiculous that I started giggling. At this point, she had cheated on him more than once. She had done it whenever she could. I questioned her about whether or not she had cheated before. She vowed fervently that it was the only occasion, that it was a sign of weakness, that she was intoxicated, and that it had no significance. I told her I had filed for divorce, but I remained silent and gave her my lawyer's business card. I wanted to speak with her once to see whether there was anything worth preserving about our marriage, so I hadn't filed yet. I instructed her to call my lawyer if she wanted to get in touch with me. After crying, pleading, and apologizing, she started gaslighting me by claiming that I was discarding everything we owned because of a single error, as I was packing a suitcase. Her statement that you have no one else in the world was the worst. Why would you abandon your lone surviving family? I informed her that she was the only family member I had left after my parents passed away, and that I could rely on no one else. Thus it hurt that she responded negatively. That evening, I departed for a motel, where I will remain until I locate a new flat. I formally filed for divorce yesterday. Edit. I kept my knowledge of my ex-friend's affair from her. I said nothing about the other affair when she confessed to kissing a stranger at the pub. After confronting him, my ex-friend's wife called my wife and yelled at her. I don't blame his wife for being upset when I spoke with her. She had been traveling out of town to visit her ailing mother, but her husband took advantage of the opportunity to spend time with my wife, rather than providing for her. I was caught off guard when my wife confessed to kissing a stranger, so I kept the affair a secret. It might not seem like much in comparison to the double life she was living with my friend, but it was shocking to me at the time when I discovered how much she wanted to cheat on me. I simply went since I was too furious to speak to her without losing my temper. Leaving made more sense than trying to figure out why she had been having an affair with my former friend. She continued to call and leave messages that night after I left the house. My ex-friend's wife ceased attempting to contact me after she phoned her the following day and addressed her husband as well. Both she and he have been completely silent ever since. I connected the dots because I stopped getting calls from my ex-friend's wife completely around the time she messaged me to tell me she had confronted him and phoned my wife. Now to the next story. Story 2. Religious girlfriend confesses to getting drunk and having fun with 4 men at party, but the truth was far darker. I've been seeing my girlfriend, who we'll name Katie, for 4 years. We met while we were in college. Her parents were strict, and she was in high school, so I'm the first person she's ever dated. Because of their religious beliefs, her parents oppose having sex before marriage. We've been waiting since Katie and her parents are really close. Even though I don't really care about it, I had intended to pop the question within the next 6 months now that she had graduated. I had chosen a ring and everything. This girl had me completely smitten. But last night, or more precisely, last weekend, that all changed. Since high school, Katie has had a male closest friend, whom her parents disapproved of due to his sexual orientation. Let us refer to him as Liam. Being in the same college as him meant they could spend as much time together as they wanted, which made her very happy. Although I've never been a huge fan of the male best friend dynamic, I was willing to overlook it, because he was allegedly gay. However, he came out as bisexual 2 years ago. I requested Katie to stop spending time with him alone, because I never felt comfortable in his presence. She said that, like her parents, I tried to control her and didn't support him. I informed her that I would not be staying for it, but that it was up to her if she wanted to continue seeing him alone. Although it was the largest issue we had ever faced together, we managed to resolve it. As a compromise, we agreed that Liam and his partner could spend time with me and Katie together, but never by themselves. I only wanted to establish a fair limit. I never intended to cut her off from her pals, but until Liam transferred to another institution during the summer, the 4 of us only met up twice. Katie continued to communicate with him via Discord, maintained friendships with him and his ex-boyfriend, and even joined them and a few other pals to create a gaming server. Despite the fact that the majority of these buddies were guys, she reassured me that nothing amusing was happening, and that the majority of them even had girlfriends. Liam invited her to his birthday celebration last weekend to make sure I was comfortable with her leaving. Katie wanted to discuss it with me first, even though it was only a 2-hour drive away. She claimed she hadn't seen him in 2 years. There would be a number of her Discord server pals, including women who she had never met in person before, as well as Liam's girlfriend. Unfortunately, I couldn't accompany her because I had a weekend excursion scheduled that would take me out on Friday and return on Sunday. However, I assured Katie that I trusted her and that I didn't mind if she went to see her friends. The issue began on Saturday evening. She sent me a text message in the morning while she was heading to the party, another text when she arrived, and a few more messages to check in during the day. Around 9 or 10 p.m., Katie informed me she intended to drive back. However, the messages ceased. At that moment, I didn't bother her because I thought she was just enjoying herself and didn't want to come across as domineering. She eventually arrived at approximately 2 in the morning, and I stayed up to keep an eye on her whereabouts to make sure she got home safely. Although it was out of the ordinary, I trusted her and didn't want to assume anything. I assumed she would explain that she simply got caught up in having fun with her pals. When I called her in the morning, she didn't pick up the phone. When I called her on Sunday morning, a few minutes later, she wrote back to say she wasn't feeling well, had been sleeping, and had a hangover. Given that Katie doesn't drink, this was odd. I wished her well, advised her to drink a lot of water, and boarded my trip home. She was cuddled up in my bed, in the dark. When I got to my flat, she has my apartment's key, but she rarely uses it, because I'm typically there to open the door with her. She remained silent when I questioned her about why she hadn't stayed at her flat to relax. She has hardly left my room since, and has been complaining about not feeling well for the entire week. I've been visiting home during my lunch breaks to check on her since she took time off from work. In the back of my mind, I was dubious of what had transpired at the party over the weekend, but I was also frightened for her. Katie sobbed as she woke me up from the couch late last night. Other than using the restroom, it was the first time Mom had left my room since I returned home. I asked her what was wrong. After comforting her until she was able to speak clearly, she told me that she had committed a terrible act. Liam offered to bring her home after she admitted to being incredibly intoxicated by accident on Saturday night. After leaving Liam off, 3 of her buddies from the Discord gaming server hopped in a second car to follow them and drive her home. They assisted Katie in climbing the stairs and entering her flat. Once they arrived, then she had intercourse with them all, she claimed. Each of the 4 men. According to Katie, she was completely out of it and doesn't recall the majority of it because she loves me so much and didn't want to upset me. She said she's been unwell ever since and has been trying to figure out how to tell me. She threw away her virginity, which she was ostensibly saving for marriage, to 4 other guys rather than the man who had taken care of her for the previous 4 years. Even though she didn't mean to upset me, I found her at my apartment because she said she intended to inform me as soon as I returned, but she couldn't bring herself to do so since she didn't want to lose me. She pleaded with me not To end our relationship, I informed her that I needed some alone time to reflect. After that, she pleaded with me not to force her to return to her apartment. I told her she may return to my room, as I didn't want to quarrel. Throughout the night, I could hear her sobbing sporadically. Admittedly, I was moved to tears myself. It's unbelievable that she would ruin our 4 years of relationship over a single party. I was about to pop the question. My faith in her has been betrayed. I haven't been able to concentrate all day at work. If she's still there, a part of me wants to tell her to leave as soon as I get home, and that I don't want to see her ever again. A part of me wants to speak with her more and try to repair what we have left. I am unable to determine which perspective is more rational. How can I get around this? Update. This is triggering. Alerts everywhere. I apologize to everyone who missed my last post. I'm finally getting around to writing this because my girlfriend went to bed early and I have nothing else to do. To start, if you don't care, you can go straight to the update. I believe my previous post was removed due to accusations of being fraudulent. I wasn't spending time in the comments refuting every charge, which is one of the main reasons why many appear to believe it was a fake. Since I left work to see how Katie was doing, I hadn't even opened Reddit. At the time, it wasn't even close to my top priority. One moment he says he has her location, and the next he's surprised she's at his apartment, is a simple and quick way to refute this, just to make sure she made it home safely. I looked up her whereabouts on Saturday night. Since I am not a stalker who follows her everywhere, I did not look up her location after that. I wouldn't have known her precise location unless I had checked our texts between my trip and my arrival home, because the iPhone displays your location and the text messages you exchange with that person. Furthermore, not everyone owns an iPhone. My girlfriend and I use an app since I do, but she doesn't. I don't need to be a stalker. Therefore no, I don't receive notifications from the app. Random excessive details. I apologize. I wanted to let everything out since, as I previously stated, I had been holding my breath since she informed me what had transpired that evening. I had all of those information about the situation circling around in my mind. The core content is flawless, but the update is riddled with typos. Only the TLDR update was written by the op. After learning that my partner may have been raped, I apologize for being a little disorganized and rushed. By the way, I've gone back and corrected the mistakes. After I shut down Reddit, I had no clue that my article would receive hundreds of more comments, each of them critically examining every word I said in the letter. There isn't any worry at all that she's become pregnant. No concerns regarding STIs. Not then. No, I wasn't even certain that I would remain with her. If I had stayed, I would have been worried about becoming pregnant and getting STIs. But at the time of writing, I thought she had cheated on me and was considering ending our relationship. No worries that she was potentially drugged and raped. Not at the time of writing. Once more, she had told me that she had intercourse with 4 men, and I was still in shock. I would have thought she would have mentioned getting raped or drugged, but she didn't. I hadn't even considered the possibility that she might be in denial herself until I read all the responses. Does this devout girl, who desired to postpone marriage, now want to betray, run on her? Fake, of course. No, it turns out that she didn't want anything to do with what transpired. Look at the remainder of the subreddit. If you're among those who said someone in my position wouldn't have taken the time to write everything out for a post, there wouldn't be any posts here at all if people in difficult situations didn't share their experiences. You may personally expletive off everyone who implied that it was a hoax, or that she must have been a cow for 4 men to carry her up the stairs. Even though I wish what I wrote wasn't true, everything above was a bunch of pretentious bullshit. For the record, I just included all of that in order to prevent harassment on this thread. If none of that applies to you, you can go straight to this section. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who assisted with this. As reading over all of the comments, let me realize what actually occurred. Just before lunch, I left work and went straight home to see how my girlfriend was doing. She was lying in bed, sobbing, just as I had left her. After getting her permission, my initial action was to simply go hold her. I shared her tears. I eventually broached the subject of what had transpired that evening. Was any of that really what she wanted to happen? Despite the fact that a lot was said, she did not, as many of you urged. To be clear, the friends she was with at the party were also intimate friends of Liam, her best buddy of 8 years, and not just strangers she met online. They were folks she had spoken to and played games with over the past year, but she had never met them in person. Over her headset, I would frequently hear her conversing with them, and I never noticed anything odd. I was glad she had people to play with as she gamed because she's somewhat shy and introverted. She also claimed that there were 4 or 5 ladies working in the server, so they weren't all men. 3 of the guys and 2 of the ladies were present at the gathering. Liam's girlfriend, a few of other pals, and several of their partners were also there. There were only around 15 people in total, and most of them knew one another. A little get-together of Liam's closest pals at his residence was all that was intended to happen. It wasn't even intended for alcohol to play a significant role, since they hadn't been able to come together in person for a while. The most of them were just enjoying themselves at the start of the party. Since many of the attendees were LGBTQ, there was little distinction between the sexes. To engage in general mingling and socializing, some people divided into small groups to talk. One of the visitors gave everyone mystery shots about the halfway point of the celebration. Liam persuaded Katie to take it for his birthday, even though she first objected. Everyone urged her to try the shot after learning that she had never had one before. Liam emphasized that it was just one shot and that it would wear off before she had to drive home. If not, he offered, she may wait as long as it took for her to feel safe behind the wheel. She finally took the shot because she felt pressed. Things became a little less obvious after that. More people were drinking and hanging out. She is unsure of the specific individuals who continued to give her alcohol, claiming she didn't want to spoil Liam's celebration. If nothing else, she was confident Liam would protect her. Katie claimed that, even though she didn't feel well, she trusted him to let her know if something wasn't right, and that he kept telling her that everything was okay. She recalls being quite ill, witnessing other people faint on the couch, and hearing Liam express his desire to drive her home himself in order to check on her. He expressed regret for allowing her to become so damaged, and apologized. She recalls 2 other Discord males getting into his car after one of her friends promised Liam he would follow them in his car and bring Liam back later. She remembers Liam helping her get sober in the car by offering her a bottle of water. She recalls them laughing as they carried her upstairs to her apartment and brought her inside. I won't go into any more detail than that. She didn't want anything that occurred to happen. Was she gullible? Perhaps. Did she likely overlook some warning signs and make some poor decisions? Yes. However, Katie wasn't worthy of that. The men who committed this are to blame. I'm not giving her a deadline, and she doesn't want to disclose anything to the police. I completely support her decision, and I've read a lot about how horrible that process can be. Of course, I'll support her through that as well if she ever decides she does want to submit a report. We're going to visit a physician. Katie claims that she has been in a lot of discomfort, which is one of the reasons she spent the majority of this time curled up in bed. After some persuasion and assurance, she consented even though she really doesn't want to be prodded down there. In addition to seeing her on Monday, we'll also get tested for STI and pregnancy, 2 things we're equally concerned about. We've spoken a lot over the weekend. Both of us have shed many tears. Hugs and consoling one another when necessary have been shared in abundance. At least she gets some sunlight in the bedroom now that I've opened the curtains. I'm not forcing her to return to her apartment. For those who were worried, and to those who suggested it, no, I won't be ratting her out to her parents, nor would I abandon her now, or after she recovers, in order to find someone who isn't damaged. In order to care for her, attend as many doctor's visits as necessary, schedule therapy, and other activities. I will be taking the entire next week off, although I doubt I will ever be able to make up for the time I spent apart from her this past week. I promise to support her through whatever comes next. Once more, I want to express my gratitude to everyone who left a comment on my initial post and made me understand what a self-centered idiot I was. I hope that everyone who was worried would find this update helpful, though I hope we can get there. Katie isn't feeling well at the moment. Comments where Op has replied. Commenter, Op, you do what you think is best, but I want to add something to make sure she considers it, because these pieces of Iran Avran do this to all women, not just herself, as much as I would like to say. Katie won't be the last. She wasn't the first. These rapes are Mama Bo D Man Saw Bam. She is prepared to allow this to occur repeatedly if she is unwilling to act morally and report the violence. You should also speak with Liam, her friend, and find out why he abandoned her to be raped. This is what he did. He let it occur. He has to deal with this, and he can either support her or oppose her. She must inform her parents. You are sticking with a cheater. Therefore, please stop updating if she is unwilling to do this. Op. I will not issue an ultimatum to her. She doesn't report, so I won't label her a cheater. Following the re-traumatization that comes with reporting and everything that follows, rape victims have taken their own lives. I gave it a thorough investigation. Have you, or are you assuming, without having first-hand experience, what occurs in our legal system? Warning. All 4 of them would probably walk, even if she did report. Nor am I forcing her to tell her overly devout parents so they can try to embarrass her. Man, she is not responsible for this. The men who committed this are the ones who must be prepared to act morally and put an end to foul rape.